Hello everyone, welcome back. Today's stories are from r/MaliciousCompliance. Story 1. I used to work in media intelligence, which is a really niche market in the country that I am from. I started as an assistant and learned everything from scratch, as I switched from the hospitality industry. Pretty big step, I know. I was eager to learn and was really interested in what they do, as I was trying to get into media back then. First of all, as I learned everything from scratch, I got really good at what I do after just 6 months working there. I was in a 3-person team, and I had one of the best bosses and a really good colleague, who were veterans in the industry. Both of them helped me a lot to get me where I am now. They left the company after just a year there, as upper management was just plain hot garbage. The company had 4 changes in direction within a year, and it was stressing my team out. They did ask me to leave with them, but with me being young and naive, trying to prove myself, I declined. The story began after my boss and colleague left. It was just me and my team, and I was in charge of a few markets. I was asked to be on call for technical support, and was not offered anything in return. At the time, I was pissed, but, also trying to prove myself, I obliged. I got really stressed out from working 13 hours a day, for several months. I kept asking my manager to hire more people, explaining that I couldn't continue working like this, and that it was causing me significant stress. My manager repeatedly claimed they don't have the budget for it. So, I eventually gave up, drowning myself in work. One day, the CEO of the company came, and we had dinner. He was growing close to me since I was the only person left who actually knew the ins and outs of both the old and new systems that the company used. Keep in mind, this CEO is a cheapskate and will try every way possible to exploit you. During dinner, he asked me what I wanted to change in the company. I started by asking for 2 new hires for my team, to which he gave me the same answer as my manager. So, I asked him for a promotion and a raise, which was also declined, with him saying, "You don't have the necessary experience yet." I was furious. As a normal person would expect, after working 13-hour days for months, you would need rest. I had almost 3 weeks of PTO saved and needed the rest. The manager threatened to fire me if I took any PTO, claiming no one else could do what I did. I took the PTO anyway and got well rested. All was good until I came back. There were 2 new faces, and I was confused, so I asked my manager who they were. She told me they were my replacements and that my notice was 2 months, I had to train them before leaving. She couldn't do much, as I was the only person in the company who knew how to run both the legacy and new systems. Realistically, she couldn't claim I wasn't training them properly since she didn't understand how things worked. Malicious compliance begins. Since the manager was unaware of the system's intricacies, she told me to train the interns on the legacy systems to know better about how the company was built. She strictly instructed me to focus only on the legacy system and that she would handle the rest. So, I did exactly as she said. The consequences. In my last week, the situation escalated. My manager discovered that I had only been training the interns on the legacy system and hadn't shared my notes with tips on running the operational systems. She called in the CEO and managing director for a meeting, demanding to know why I hadn't trained my replacements properly. I simply stated that I did what my manager told me to do. When she denied this, I forwarded the email she had sent me to the CEO and managing director. The call promptly ended. Aftermath. After leaving the company, I waited patiently for the inevitable call. My manager demanded I return to work, claiming the firing was just a prank. I told her to pay me triple my wage, and I might consider it. They called me crazy and ended the call. 2 months later, according to a friend from another department, my old manager is neck deep in the resulting chaos. Story 2. A few years ago, I worked at a mid-sized company where the atmosphere was, let's say, not ideal. The manager had this ever-growing suspicion that people were just waiting for the right time to leave. He believed that morale was low, and that the team was barely holding it together. And while I'm not sure where he got this idea, he started imposing more and more controls on us to monitor productivity. One day, he introduced a new rule: every task, every email, every conversation must be logged. No exceptions. The justification? I need to know exactly what you're doing, and I need to be sure nothing's falling through the cracks. Now, here's the problem: my team was already working at full capacity, dealing with multiple tasks every single day. But suddenly, we were being told to log everything. If you were sending a simple email, you had to log it. Writing a report? Log it. Setting up a meeting? Log it. Every little action had to be documented. I tried explaining how ridiculous this was. But the response was always the same: I need to make sure you're on task. He didn't trust us to do our jobs, so he created a system where every move had to be tracked and validated by someone else. I didn't see any way out of it, so I decided to comply. But I wasn't going to make it easy. I started logging everything, and I mean everything, down to the smallest tasks. Simple emails? Logged. A quick 10-minute meeting to touch base? Logged. I even started logging the amount of time I spent thinking about the best way to word my emails, because, hey, it was part of the task, right? To top it off, I made sure my logs were detailed as hell. I meticulously logged every action, no matter how insignificant. The result? It was chaos. The logs were piling up, but all they did was waste more of my time. The manager was reviewing everything and asking questions about tasks that had no bearing on the big picture. Meanwhile, I could barely get through a day without constantly being interrupted by the need to document my every move. And then, it happened. The manager finally asked, "Why is everything taking so long?" I gave him a simple reply: "You asked for everything to be logged." He didn't like hearing that. But the best part was when he finally realized that the whole system was making us less productive. His solution? We were told to just log what's necessary. The policy was quietly dropped, and things slowly started to return to normal. But by then, I had already built something of my own. After all the frustration of logging every single action, I realized there had to be a better way. So, I started building a tool that could automatically track everything, without the annoying back and forth or wasted time. I wasn't looking to change the whole company, I just wanted a way to do my job without all the micromanagement. What started as a workaround eventually grew into a full-fledged solution, and I realized that this frustration had pushed me to create something far more effective than the system we were using. Funny how the lack of trust can sometimes spark the most innovative ideas. Story 3. I rented a car for 5 weeks while my car was being repaired from a car accident. The rental company had a couple of great policies: no cleaning fee, no matter how gross the car was, and unlimited miles. Ideal for me. I live in the country, and going anywhere is a drive. When my car was finally scheduled to be finished, on a Monday evening, I called the rental car company on Sunday. I asked about return details. They said the return time would be 5:30 p.m. Monday, but I could leave the car at the shop and drop the keys in the shop's drop box. I agreed. The next night, I picked up my car, left the keys in the box, and discovered the check engine light was on. The staff told me to return the next day, and they would fix it. I went home, expecting to spend all of Tuesday at the shop without alternative transportation. Tuesday morning at 7 a.m., the rental car company called, angry that they couldn't access the drop box and the shop didn't open until 9 a.m. I explained that I had simply followed their instructions. They threatened to charge me an extra day. I arrived at the shop at 8:50 a.m. The rental car staff weren't present. When the shop opened, I retrieved the rental keys and handed over my car. Just then, the rental car representatives appeared. They demanded the keys, and I asked if I was still being charged for an extra day. While one employee inspected the car, the other confirmed the additional charge. The inspector noted the car was in good condition and ready for rental, acknowledging that I had cleaned it thoroughly. I refused to surrender the keys, arguing, if I'm being charged for an extra day, then it's my car until 5:30 p.m. today, correct? This statement made the representative visibly nervous. When he insisted they needed the car back, I proposed a compromise: I would return the keys immediately if they removed the extra day charge. When he refused to negotiate, I left with the car. At this point, I'm petty and angry. So, I go straight home. I own a farm, and it has been raining like mad lately. I get to work. By the time 10 a.m. rolls around, the car is covered in mud. This black car looks painted brown. I didn't trash the inside, because I'm not that petty. I hop in the car and drive to the rental place. I'm pretty covered in mud at this point. I had put trash bags on the front seat to limit it. I walk into the rental place looking like I fell into a mud pit. Story 3. I rented a car for 5 weeks while my car was being repaired from a car accident. The rental company had a couple of great policies: no cleaning fee, no matter how gross the car was, and unlimited miles. Ideal for me. I live in the country, and going anywhere is a drive. When my car was finally scheduled to be finished, on a Monday evening, I called the rental car company on Sunday. I asked about return details. They said the return time would be 5:30 p.m. Monday, but I could leave the car at the shop and drop the keys in the shop's drop box. I agreed. The next night, I picked up my car, left the keys in the box, and discovered the check engine light was on. The staff told me to return the next day, and they would fix it. I went home, expecting to spend all of Tuesday at the shop without alternative transportation. Tuesday morning at 7 a.m., the rental car company called, angry that they couldn't access the drop box and the shop didn't open until 9 a.m. I explained that I had simply followed their instructions. They threatened to charge me an extra day. I arrived at the shop at 8:50 a.m. The rental car staff weren't present. When the shop opened, I retrieved the rental keys and handed over my car. Just then, the rental car representatives appeared. They demanded the keys, and I asked if I was still being charged for an extra day. While one employee inspected the car, the other confirmed the additional charge. The inspector noted the car was in good condition and ready for rental, acknowledging that I had cleaned it thoroughly. I refused to surrender the keys, arguing, if I'm being charged for an extra day, then it's my car until 5:30 p.m. today, correct? This statement made the representative visibly nervous. When he insisted they needed the car back, I proposed a compromise. I would return the keys immediately if they removed the extra day charge. When he refused to negotiate, I left with the car. At this point, I'm petty and angry. So, I go straight home. I own a farm, and it has been raining like mad lately. I get to work. By the time 10 a.m. rolls around, the car is covered in mud. This black car looks painted brown. I didn't trash the inside, because I'm not that petty. I hop in the car and drive to the rental place. I'm pretty covered in mud at this point. I had put trash bags on the front seat to limit it. I walk into the rental place looking like I fell into a mud pit. No cleaning fee and no extra day charge. Huh. Edit, alright, might as well address the few things y'all are BSing about lol. The Uber, I called the Uber after I walked out of the rental car place. It took half an hour to arrive. I had brought extra trash bags, so I stripped down a bit, shorts and undershirt, and put on 2 trash bags that I cut holes in. Put my clothes in a bag. Let the mud on my exposed body parts flake off. Did I look absolutely ridiculous? Yes. Did I get mud in some poor stranger's car? No. I didn't want to actually ruin the day for some kid getting minimum wage. That's why I only mudded the outside. That's a pretty easy clean. I didn't want to wreck anyone's day, even the a-hole that charged me. My goal was to make the car messy and shocking enough to get them to not charge me because they were desperate to get it back. If the outside is that bad, what did he do to the inside? The car was $91 a day, first 3 weeks $39 a day and then went up for last 2 weeks to $91, and my insurance did not cover it. I was not willing to let $91 slide. The keys were left at the auto shop, in the auto shop's key box. That key box was not open at 7 a.m. when rental car company went to get the car. When I went around 9 a.m. to drop my car off, the auto shop opened the box for me and gave me the rental car keys. Rental car people appeared a few minutes later. Story 4. This happened about 4 years ago. I do construction, and we start fairly early. The boss got tired of people walking in at 6:05 or 6:03, when we start at 6 o'clock, even though he was a few minutes late more consistently than any one of us was, so he said, if you aren't standing in front of me at 6 o'clock when we start, then I'm docking 15 minutes from your time for the day. The next day, I accidentally forgot my tape measure in my car and had to walk back across the job site to grab it. I made it inside at 6 o'clock. The boss chewed me out and told me he was serious yesterday. He docked me 15 minutes. So, I took all my tools off right there and sat down on a bucket. He asked why I wasn't getting to work, and I said, I'm not getting paid until 6:15, so I'm not doing any work until 6:15. I enjoy what I do, but I don't do it for free. He tried to argue with me about it until I said, if you're telling me to work without paying me, then that's against the law. You really want to open the company, and yourself, up to that kind of risk? Maybe I'm the kind to sue, maybe I'm not. But if you keep on telling me to work after you dock my time, then we're gonna find out one way or the other. He kept silent pretty quickly after that, and everyone else saw me do it and him cave in, so now they weren't gonna take his crap either. Over the next few days, guys that would have been 1 or 2 minutes late just texted the boss, hey, sorry boss. Would have been there at 6:02 and gotten docked, so I'll see you at 6:15, and I'll get to work then, and then sat in their cars until 6:15 and came in when their time started. So, between people doing what I did, or just staying in their cars instead, he lost a ton of productivity and morale, because he decided that losing 15 minutes of productivity per person, and feeling like a big man, was better than losing literally 1 or 2 minutes of productivity. Even though everyone stands around BSing, and getting material together for the day, until about 6:10 anyway. After a few weeks of that, he got chewed out by his boss over the loss of productivity, and how bad the dock timesheets were looking, reflecting poorly on him as a leader because we were missing deadlines over it, and it showed that he doesn't know how to manage his people. Then, suddenly, his little self-implemented policy was gone, and we all worked like we were supposed to, and caught back up fairly quickly. Worker solidarity for the win. Not one person took his crap and worked that time for free after he tried to swing his weight around on them. But, obviously, I was a target after that, and I only made it 2 more months before he had stacked up enough BS reasons to get away with firing me. When I called in a few days in a row after my mom fell, I took off work to take care of her and monitor her for a while during the day. Story 5. It became apparent to me, last week, that my roommates were trying to drive me out of the house, to get one of their boyfriends in on my lease. When I told them I wanted to stay, they started staging incidents and messes around the house, so they could yell at me for them. It all came to a head when they called a meeting with me, 2 days ago. One of them had to hold the other back as she screamed at me that she hated me, and I was not welcome in the building. They proceeded to tell me that I contributed nothing to the house and wasted their space, and that they had gotten in with the landlady and convinced her to not renew my lease in June. I told them I'd talk to the landlady, and when they said they were the heads of the house, I laughed, and went on with my day. I spoke to the landlady, and she acknowledged that they were out of hand, and while she had given them the power to not renew my lease, she also said I could move out whenever, and not pay for a single day I wasn't there. So, yesterday, when my roommates both left to visit family, they are sisters, I immediately called everyone I knew and vacated the house of everything I owned. I took the curtains, the rugs, all the cat toys, and even the cat tower that I had made with my mom. I took all of their things off my shelves and other furniture, and stacked them in the middle of the now nearly empty living room. I snapped pictures of everything, handed the keys to the landlady, and immediately F off. They won't be back to the house until tomorrow. I've blocked them on everything so I won't get any angry messages, but I'm sure their faces will be priceless when they come home to a half-empty house with hundreds of dollars in storage and furniture gone. So much for me not contributing anything to the house. Now I actually don't. They also have to find someone else to take up the lease till boyfriend can move in when June comes around, or they have to pick up my rent. Feels pretty good. Update. I emailed my attorney, asking if the screenshots I took of my landlady's texts, saying I could leave with no financial repercussions, would protect me if she somehow changed her mind and wanted to charge me rent. He said I was good to go, and would be covered by it. A lot of people are asking about whether or not my roommates will actually have to pick up my rent. My lease specifically states, if one tenant is not able to fulfill their portion of the rent, it will be up to the other tenants to make up the difference. I don't know if she will make an exception or not for them. She did tell me, though, that it will be their responsibility to get someone to lease my room, until the boyfriend can move in June. The girls came back from visiting family today, so it is certain that they have seen the empty house now. I haven't gotten any calls from any officers about stolen goods, so I'm thinking I'm in the clear. Considering that I haven't actually stolen anything, they would be filing a false report, which is very illegal, according to my attorney. And the big one, my boyfriend was pretty pissed by the whole situation. He heard the whole screaming meeting when they told me to leave, as he was up in my room when it happened, and he has also observed the abusive texts and language they have sent and said to me. He confronted both of my roommates online about how they've been acting. They immediately went to their dad, and he had the cops called. I don't know all of the details, and frankly, I don't want to, because I have them blocked. I want nothing to do with them, and I just want my life to go on. But yeah, my boyfriend pretty much had to go to the station and sign some papers saying he'd leave them alone. I'm pretty pissed at him for confronting them, but like, the cops? Come on. Anyways, I'm couch surfing until I can get a place. I have 2 lined up that I'm very interested in, both of which have girls who I know and can trust. I think things are looking up, and hopefully this is the last time I have to think about this ever again. If something does happen, I will be updating. Story 6. I've been a mechanic my entire working life so far, and this is one of my favorite experiences. I had a customer come in, complaining about a vibration. I put the vehicle on the lift and checked the front end. I found a nearly broken tie rod and a faulty rack and pinion. So, basically, the passenger side front wheel was not fully secured to the steering system and would soon break, causing the wheel to be completely disconnected from the steering. I told the customer how much the repair would be and told her it was unsafe to drive. She asked me to put it back together so she could leave. I told her that I could not do that because if it broke after I let her leave, I could be held liable. She started yelling and screaming about calling the cops and suing me, and how her cousin's brother knows a guy who's related to the chief of police and I'll be arrested. She calls the police and they come out. I show the officers the vehicle and they understood the safety concern. They told me to just put the car down and let her leave. I did, and even made her sign a statement declining crucial safety repairs. She left with the most "ha-ha, I told you so" smug grin on her face. Until she left the property, got pulled over, and her car impounded. They also gave her a ticket for reckless driving. I was so happy seeing her car get towed. Kudos to the police officers. That's it for now. See you in the next post.